Good morning. My name is Will Batchelor and I'm an account manager at Ultimo Software Solutions, and I've been in the EAM industry for a bit over 3.5 years. Ultimo is a market-leading EAM software developer with 33 years of experience in helping asset managers to improve their company's maintenance performance and their asset performance. Now, I'm joined today by my colleague Thijs. Thijs, say hello.
Good morning, Will, and hello everyone. I'm Thijs Stevens, sales consultant at Ultimo, and I've worked with Ultimo implementing EAM solutions over the last 16 years.
Thanks, Thijs. Today, we're looking at an increasingly important topic for asset managers, and that's the link between operations, maintenance, and safety, and how they are supported by the modern EAM. Now, this is a really big topic, so we'll be focusing in on EHS and maintenance specifically, and we'll start by looking at where the common challenges are, where the trends are in the industry, before having a look at how Ultimo can syncretize the process. So, as we already said, there are the three departments we're going to be looking at are EHS, maintenance, and operations. From our experience, there is usually a well-established link between maintenance and operations. Production managers and maintenance managers are often in contact to organise planned downtime, check key KPIs like runtime, wrench time, OEE, downtime, etc. But the two departments also interact when operators report breakdowns and reactive work to the maintenance department as well.
Well, it has to be said, this interaction is usually word of mouth rather than an organized job reporting system, Will.
Right, which obviously leads to missed jobs, lack of data, for reporting as well as for audits. Now, we also see a similar interaction with operations in EHS, whether that's to ensure the safety of operators or ensuring production is complying with industrial regulations, or analysing risk associated with working on particular machines or in a specific site. Again, this cooperation is well established, and there are often regular meetings, training sessions, and audits. However, there's often no or little synergy or regular contact between EHS and maintenance. The only contact is really when something actually goes wrong, or if there's a short notice audit. The challenge here is that they are often running off different systems, which means double data entry, slow and cumbersome auditing, and a disjointed, slow process, which requires more meetings, emails, and time spent on admin processes. What we want is for all three departments to be fully integrated, all singing off the same hymn sheet, improving organizational efficiency.
And this is something we see time and time again. Organizations starting really important work in improving their maintenance management, but being really restrained in their progress due to siloed departments.
Yeah, and this isn't just the experience of Thijs and his 16 years with Ultimo, but of 33 years in the industry, hundreds of experts working at Ultimo across thousands of customers. Now, this experience has led us to producing the EAM Trend Report to really get under the hood and really see where the market trends are in 2020. We got some really interesting statistics, some of which we're going to get onto a little later. And by the way, if you want to see the trend report, please get in touch and we'll be happy to send over a link for you to download it yourself. But one that kind of stood out to us as a prophetic voice on the topic was that 80% of asset managers say integrated software systems are becoming more important and will add more value. Now, as I say, I would encourage you to have a look at the report yourself. However, the 5 key conclusions, the 5 takeaways from the report were this. Firstly, market research has shown that asset managers feel that the theme of safety and prevention is the most important theme in their field, and according to the trend report, is in the top 3 priorities for the future. Secondly, because many asset managers work in high-risk environments, meeting law and regulations are important. Asset managers understand that they need to develop an EHS policy, and this has to be used to create insight into the risk for people, environment, and for assets. Thirdly, and this is going to be one of the conclusions that we're going to focus on today, asset managers and safety managers understand the need to have a centralized system. This will not only improve efficiency for both departments, but improve communication between departments, improve insight for senior management, and reduce the risk of missed actions and non-compliancy. Following on from the third conclusion, the fourth highlighted the need for a change in culture in both departments. Both in engineering and EHS, there is a siloed mentality, making operations slower, harder, and more admin heavy. The trend report showed a realization that a cultural shift from siloed departments to integrated departments is going to be incredibly important going forward. And finally, the trend report picked up on a growing requirement in the future for organizations to make use of new smart technology to make their sites safer. And this includes IoT, sensors, AR, VR, and drones, among others. Now, just looking at those conclusions, one of the key takeaways from the trend report for us was that HSE and maintenance and operations are all working in silos. There needs to be a cultural shift from each department working on their own process in their own system to a joined up process and an integrated organization.
That's right, and that's also something we still see time and time again, that Ultimo is often brought into organizations as a CMMS. However, as we go through the project, increasingly we are advising bringing other departments like HSC to the discussion early, so we can define a process in collaboration instead of a siloed approach.
Right, so let's look at an example of a disjointed process that's all too common in organizations around the world. Excuse me. So here we have a flow diagram, and we've got a little color code at the bottom. A orange box is a process done in the EHS system, software, whatever they use. Yellow box is a maintenance process, often done in a CMMS software. And then a blue box is an individual process, and usually they have their own system, whether that's like a logbook or a printout done on paper in Outlook, whatever it is. So that's kind of the legend for this workflow. So we're going to start with an event, and just for the sake of argument, we'll say that this is a petrochemical plant. So a few certain processes have to take place for this to be compliant. The incident is then logged in the organization's EHS system, which might have some action items which are either raised immediately or they are processed via the shift handover. Now, the shift handover is usually logged in some form of logbook. Again, it's usually a manual kind of paper logbook that's handed between departments. So it's at this point that we would hand over to maintenance, create any remedial maintenance work orders. Now, this also might be one of the action items that come from when the incident is logged. But as we're creating the maintenance job, you're going to be adding all the standard things, so labor resource, materials, tools, any downtime allocation. But you might also want to include things like lockout, takeout plans or isolation plans, which aren't usually kept in maintenance management systems and have their own separate system. Work permits, again, not always kept in maintenance system and often still done in a paper-based system. Now, this is for auditing purposes, but we'll get onto that later. And before scheduling the work, they might need to carry out a risk assessment. Now, I'm going to be kind here. I'm going to say that in this scenario, the risk assessment can be done in the maintenance management system, whether that's in a formal module or a formal bit of functionality, or whether that's just a customized checklist or configured checklist. So now that they've done all that, the job can then be scheduled. And after the job has been carried out and the activity has been typed back into the CMMS, the organisation might need to follow up with another risk assessment showing the residual risk of the site, machinery, area to show that the maintenance work being done has made the site machine area safer. Now, this final risk assessment is obviously often tied up with any non-maintenance remedial work. So think of things like changing processes or changing layout or additional training for operators across the site. You know, all of which will have their own processes, especially their own management of change processes, all of which are kept in separate places. Finally, there is a compliance audit. This could be from a customer of the organisation, especially if they're in the food and beverage industry. It could be from a regulatory agency, or it could potentially be an internal audit. Now, obviously, this will vary on the audit being carried out, but often will require an audit trail of work, as well as clarification of who raised which action and when it was carried out. And quite a lot of the time, it will also require a signature from team leader or manager in charge of the process to show that everything's been done to the book. Now, we try to be as comprehensive as possible, but what you'll see from this and from our experience as well, likely enough from your own, is there are a number of different processes in a number of different systems, some of which are paper-based like logbooks, work permits, or job reporting. Now, this is a nightmare for managers trying to understand what's going on in their plant, but it's also a nightmare for auditors who are trying to prove that you and your site is complying to various regulations. Now, so at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Tice, who's going to show us what a similar situation might look like in a single unified solution.
Thanks, Will. What we're going to demonstrate is indeed how that can be done digitally within one platform. The scenario that we're going to demo is quite similar as the one just described. During the operation, an incident occurs. In this case, it's going to be an oil pressure pump which explodes. It's part of the production line. This incident will be logged in the logbook and will be handed over to an EHS officer. In that case, the EHS officer will process the incident, take necessary measures. In this case, that includes a maintenance task to fix the issue, and that also comes with an associated permit to work to carry out the work safely. Task could also include a logout takeout plan, as Will mentioned. We touched on that briefly to safely switch off the machine. Accordingly, the maintenance task is signed off. The incident is also updated with a measurement for the R&D department to look at the design of the pump. So we're going to log in into Ultimo. Into Ultimo. And Ultimo comes with a dashboard with frequently executed activities, a menu at the left-hand side. And for the purpose of this demo, all roles just mentioned have been combined, so we don't have to log on and off during the demo when a handover would take place. And we already created a couple of panels like operations, EHS, and maintenance to specifically for the purpose of this demo. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat and we will answer them afterwards. Okay, so in this case, the explosion happened, issue occurred and nobody was injured. The operator working on the production line will create a new entry in a logbook. So we're going to navigate to the logbook of operations. So this is the production line, a crate washer, and he has a couple of shift logbooks. So we're going to open up the shift logbook. And here is where we can create a new entry. The color coding indicates that this is an entry which has been raised during this shift. So if it's a green one, that's a new one, and another one comes from, for example, the previous shift. Going to create a new entry. In this case, that's it's a failure, and we're going to link it directly to a piece of kit which is part of the production line. In this case, that's pump number 1. Within this logbook, it is directly possible to raise an EHS incident or to raise a maintenance task, like for the maintenance team. In this case, we're going to report an EHS incident. With a click of a button, you come up with the report screen of the incident. So what happened? The oil pressure pump exploded. No injuries, luckily. And the pump needs replacement. We're going to log the date of the incident, which is today. We're going to link it to a specific department. In this case, it's dispatch and logistics. We're going to mark this as an incident. It could also be an EMS or a dangerous situation, and we're going to select the categories that are applicable. In this case, it was an explosion, which links to the security category, and there was also some oil spill. So also link it to an environmental category. As you can see, the entry in the logbook is automatically copied over into the incident description. Furthermore, it is possible, if it would be something else, in this case it's against piece of kit, but if it would be incorrect behavior by a colleague or whatsoever, to raise these incidents anonymously. Going to navigate to the next tab that has the involved objects. In this case, that's pump number 1. That's also copied over from the logbook entry. And here I have the option to elaborate on the location of a pump, for example. Let's say this is behind the conveyor belt. Add in additional information for the piece of kit. Accordingly, there are some other tabs. For example, an authority service would be applicable. In this case, it's a small explosion. It's not a fire in an entire plant. So this is not applicable for this incident. We're going to report this incident, and then that's job done for operation. And that's basically the handover to the EHS officer. So we're going to report the incident. Has been reported. And now we're going to EHS. There is a new incident which needs to be processed. So with a nice counter on the dashboard, they have the visibility that there are new process or a new incident came in. We're going to accept this and put this one into progress. The task of the EHS officer is to carry out an analysis and to take necessary measures in order to prevent this from happening again. So we're going to navigate to the tab analysis. If applicable, we can allocate an immediate cause. Let's say this is an electrotechnical failure. And automatically a current risk is linked to this incident. So we're going to define what the current risk is when nothing is changed and no measures are carried out. It is also possible to raise a residual risk. So if measures have been taken place, what is the risk that has been, what's the residual risk? And first we're going to set up the current risk. So it is probable that this could happen again if we don't take any necessary measurements. We're going to, Ultimo comes with an out-of-the-box risk matrix. It is possible to deviate from that, but based on the exposure and the effect, Ultimo will come up with a score and will tell you if you need to take measurements or not. So in this case, from a security perspective, there were no injuries or damages. We did have some effect on the environment because there was some oil spill. From a reputation perspective, there was no public turmoil or whatsoever, so no consequences. And from a financial perspective, in this case, we need to replace the pump, so we have some minor damage. So the risk outcome in this case is medium to high, and the measurements are required. So we're going to take some measurements. In this case, that will include a task for the maintenance team. So we're going to raise job. Fix pump.
So just as Tice is filling this all out, I think it'd be good for us just to go back and summarize over what he's done so far. So he's shown the integrated solution from operations and just within the same system, passing over an incident to the EHS, really simply. All of the information being dragged over as well, so you're not having to do double data entry. Of course, when all the risk has been done, the EHS officer is handing over to maintenance, as he's doing now. It's with a simple click of a button that he's able to do that. So this is reducing admin time. This is reducing time spent on typing in data. And it just makes the process a lot more synchronized and a lot faster, meaning that you're not missing data, meaning that you're not missing any incidences, which could make you uncompliant.
Correct. Yeah, in the meantime, populated a couple of attributes to on the work order. Because this work order also includes welding of the oil reservoir, we're going to link a permit as well. Ultimo has a couple of templates that we can use. So we have a template in this case for hot works because it includes welding. So if we link this to the work order, automatically a permit is populated, also copying over attributes that are already known. So what we're going to do, we're going to limit the environmental effects by welding setup. So we have a couple of selection lists that we can use that describe either the tools or the working method. In this case, we're going to weld, we're going to untick the box for grind because that's not applicable, and as you see also the applied tool, the grinder, is ticked off in that case as well. Furthermore, we have measurements that need to be carried out by the issuer, the holder, and we have some validation roles that need to be signed off in order to carry out the work safely. For the purpose of this demo, this has all been assigned to the same role and to the same person to run this smoothly. 4I principle is also part of the Ultimo settings that can be used. Sign off can be done digitally. Still see that quite frequently on a paper basis, and can also be done by the Ultimo mobile device. You need to, or if you'd like to have more detailed information about the work permit process, we have had a couple of webinars that go into more detail of the permits. As mentioned by Will, lockout takeout plan could also be part of the activities. So how to safely switch off the machine and in what order. For the purpose of this demo, I'm not going to include the lockout takeout plan. I will show it entirely at the end how that looks like visually. So we're going to request the permit, navigate back to the job and put this one to active. First, I would like to demonstrate and show the printout of the permit. So this is also based and designed out of business standards. So what you'll see is an overview of the actions that we've just done. So we'll see the applied tools, that it includes a welder, the activities described, also that it has been signed off digitally, and the current status in this case that it is requested. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this permit to active, and the same is applicable to the job that needs to be carried out. So we're going to put that one into progress as well. Last thing that I wanted to mention about the this part of the EHS officer is that it could be or that it's interesting to have a visual overview of what permits are currently active and what the priority is of that. So in this case, I want to have a visual overview of my production line and what activities are going on and or outstanding. So what we can see, we just raised a permit on pump number 1. The color coding indicates that it has a high risk. If it's green, then it's a lower, medium to low risk. And if there is a yellow square, then it will tell you that the permit is overdue. So with a smart image, it's quite easy to have a visual overview of outstanding permits. Okay, we're going to carry out the maintenance task. So we're moving to the right-hand side to the maintenance task. So there is a work order assigned to me, fix the pump plus weld the oil leakage. I'm going to zoom into that. Will be carried out by a third-party supplier, but I'm supervising this. I'm going to carry out the works. I'm going to mark this as finished. Replay pump, welding signed off. And if I'm going to sign this off, Ultimo will validate if there is a permit linked to it. In this case, the permit is not signed off and is not closed, so that's something that still needs to happen. So I'm going to navigate to the permit again. Validation needs to be carried out. The work area has been cleansed and cleaned and it's left safely. Permit has been validated, and for completion, measures are lifted and the environment is normal again. And now it should be possible to technically sign off the maintenance task. So replace pump, welding completed. Allocate some hours. Now the I didn't close off the permit, excuse me. I signed off, but I didn't close it, so that needs to happen as well.
Although there's a few steps in here, I think it's really key to highlight the various validations, because obviously to prove that you're compliant, you need to be able to see who's validated what when. Obviously Titus is being able to do that just from his one system, but usually one of the pop-up would say this has to be done by someone else, again to prove that this is all being done correctly.
Yeah. Okay, back to the incident. So the work order has been carried out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to define the residual risk and raise an additional action item for our R&D department to update their procedures. I'm going to create the expected residual risk after measures. So that will come up with the initial risk score, of course, and what I think is that it's improbable that this will happen again. So this is my residual risk. So attention is required, but I don't need to carry out additional measurements. But what I'm going to add as well is I'm going to create an action item, R&D department, to review design of the pump. Okay. Now we can close the incident. In this case, it's going to for an assessment, but I'm going to leave it where it is for this demo. When the incident is closed, an email will be sent out to the reporter as well. I already mentioned the lockout takeout plans. So how a production line can be safely switched off can be part of your activities as well. In this case, this is my lockout takeout plan, which I have for my production line. I can turn off the conveyor belt, turn off the pump, etc. How that can be done, what the safe states are. That can be shown visually as well. So if I'm going to open up a CAD drawing of my production line, I have an overview of the logs and the tags, how they need to be placed and in which order. So 1, 2, 3 will tell you how to safely switch off your machine. Okay, back to where we started. We kicked off at the logbook with a data entry. So we have the shift logbook that we have. So we can close the entry. What we have, it is also possible to link this one to a meeting. So if you have a daily stand-up, for example, between operations and maintenance, and this needs to be discussed to further extent, or when the maintenance job is being carried out, you want to have it linked to the stand-up, you can link it directly using this button. To summarize, we've just raised an EHS incident from the shift handover logbook. That incident has been evaluated and necessary measures have been put into place by an EHS officer. Accordingly, maintenance task has been carried out with the necessary measures and how to do that safely by using a permit and an associated logout takeout plan. The incident has been evaluated and a residual risk was captured on the EHS incident to prevent this from happening again, and all within one digital platform. I'm going to hand you over back to Will, and Will will show how this has been done in practice.
Thanks, Thijs. Really appreciate that. And hopefully people joining us today on the webinar will have found that really, really useful to see how a completely integrated system works, as well as help you understand how your maintenance and EHS process could work in one system if it doesn't already. I'll just say it again, because you said it at the start. Ty said it as well when he started. If you have any questions, we're already started to get some through now, but if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat, and we'll answer them at the end. Now, the EAM Trend Report highlighted some key stats, and we started to look at that earlier. They highlighted some key stats from our customers, which show us how using an EAM, like Thijs just showed, you can bring tangible business outcomes. So some of the key stats were that data accuracy increased by 50% because everyone was singing off the same hymn sheet, everyone was using the same system. Overall efficiency is up by 25% with more tooling time instead of time spent on admin. Centralization of data has helped certain customers of ours reduce their maintenance costs by 10% because they have more understanding of what's happening on site and across their maintenance tasks. And also that there was a general trend for managers in maintenance and engineering that will end up with them spending more time on EHS software, among others like condition monitoring, FMECA, IoT, while using SCADA and ERP less. Now, this should be really positive news for the engineering industry, as they're looking at spending more time on their tools or in systems which directly improve their tool time, rather than on admin-heavy, usually finance-led systems like ERP, which, if I'm being honest, don't really add much tangible value to their department. A great real-life example that we love to bring up at Ultimo is one of our customers at Total Group. So Total Group's second largest lubricant plant based in Belgium. The factory is already highly automated and continuously improving. Obviously, having an efficient EHS system is paramount to a petrochem company like Total. So they embarked on the process of integrating EHS with maintenance by using Ultimo for both systems. Now, this included work permits, LOTO, shift handovers, as well as having a central point to audit and manage PMs or PPMs and corrective maintenance. The outcomes for Total have been increased efficiency for both departments, better insight into unsafe situations, and fully meeting EHS legislations. These are real life examples of how having EHS and maintenance working together in the same system can improve things for the organization. Now, as you can see on your screen, I've brought up the quote from our main contact at Total. But there are hundreds of Ultimo customers who manage multiple departmental processes in one system. So if you want to find out more, if you want to hear more, please get in touch with us and we're happy to share their stories. So to summarize today, we've looked at the challenges of siloed organizations. We've had a look at the key takeaways from the EAM Trend Report. We had a look at how a completely integrated organization might look on a comprehensive EAM solution. And we've also had a look at how an integrated solution has benefited the industry like Total, among others, with tangible business outcomes, good hard statistics. Now, as I mentioned previously, there are hundreds of examples of Ultimo working successfully to integrate multiple departments. And if you want more examples or you want to find out how Ultimo can be used to improve the efficiency of your organization, please get in touch with us by the email address on your screen now, that info@ultimo.com. So now's the point where we're going to open the floor to any questions. Please type them in the chat function. We've already got a few coming through. We're going to wait for a couple of seconds and I'm going to ask Tice to join back on the call. And we're going to pick up those questions and answer them here with you now. I just want to thank you all for joining. It's been a pleasure organising this and putting this together for you, as it's something that is right at the forefront of technology at the moment, especially EAM technology, and something where the market trend is going towards going forward. So as I say, Tice, join us back on and we're going to open the floor out for a second for some more questions to come through.
Thank you, Will. Shall I kick off with the first question?
Yeah, sure.
Question is, can Ultimo inform people when to approve a permit by email? Yeah, as mentioned, there are various ways that I mentioned during the demo that on the closure of an incident, an email was sent out to the reporter. So that's also possible for each status change within the system. It's also possible to have a counter. So what we've seen on the dashboard, and you might have noticed that, is that there was a counter specifically for work orders, work permits to validate. So there are several ways how to inform a validation role or a user when to approve or validate a specific role. Okay. Additional question that we have. I'll translate that from Dutch to English. Sorry, you're not going to do that. No problem at all. I think the question is, how would this go if, if we have a corrective work order or even a reactive work order, which has been reported retrospectively, because we, in that case, have to resolve the issue immediately. Hopefully I understand the question correctly. Otherwise, it's good to get in contact afterwards. But it is possible to link a permit directly to the work order. It's not necessarily that it needs to be planned or a preventive work order. That's feasible as well. Of course, usually a work permit and lockout takeout plan are part of plans where you have high risks, like oil plants, etc., or a petrochemical plant. And even though if it is a high priority failure, you need to do that according to certain steps. If it isn't high priority or a high risk activity, you can do that immediately, of course. Okay. Hopefully that answered the questions, and if you have additional questions regarding that item, yeah, please feel free to get in touch afterwards. Another question is
that the can you make fields mandatory?
Yeah, go on.
So Ultimo, incredibly flexible tool with its it has a Ultimo customization tool which allows customers to configure the screen so it suits them. So making fields mandatory is it's easy as a click of a button, really, and they can make whatever fields mandatory to ensure that the necessary data is being collected. Another way of dealing with it as well, so if you want to maybe move away from free text fields, is really simply enough, you can create drop-down menus as well and make those mandatory. So if you have maybe your team isn't so tech savvy, you might want to restrict what they can put into a field to ensure that you're getting the best quality data possible, and that can be all set up either in the Ultimo customization tool, again available in every package, but also in the master data, which again you can configure at the start of the implementation process.
Another question, can you create template work permits so you don't have to start from scratch? I think it's kind of what we've demonstrated as well. So we have templates, for example, for Hopworks. That is what I've linked in the demo. So already a lot of selection lists and applicable items were already ticked. So it is possible to set up some templates. Furthermore, if you have, like, for example, planned activities, you can also incorporate the permit in your PPM. So when a PPM is triggered, the associated permit is also created, and all applicable tools, methods, etc., all directly at play.
Yeah, I just seen another one come in. So can you fill in lockout tagout steps on an iPad or mobile device? Yes, you can. You can do a lot of the processes that Thijs took us through on our mobile app, Ultimo Go. So whether that is placing locks for your lockout tagout process or removing them, or work permits, you get work permit validation from there off your mobile device, as well as the full work order process as well. So raising reactive jobs, completing reactive jobs, adding materials to jobs, whether they're reactive or planned. So yes, to answer your question, yes, you can fill in the LOTO steps on a mobile device. We do have some previous webinars we did earlier this year. Happy to show them, but of course, get in touch if you want to see the process live. We're happy to set up a demo for you.
Okay, that were all the questions for now. Let's wait a couple of minutes, and then before we sign off.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully this has been quite informative for everyone here. I know seeing it can seem like quite a lot, but I feel like the way that Thijs has done it to condense it into one person, just shows how easy it can flow from operations to EHS to maintenance, back to EHS to validate, and then hand over in a shift handover. It really is kind of end-to-end solution. But that's the way that the market trends are going. Again, if you want to hear more about the EAM Trend Report, please get in touch with us because it is very informative for the future of where the market's going, and just to ensure that you and your organisation is ahead of the curve.
Yep. Yeah, last question is just popped in, is if we can send a link to the demo that we spoke about. Yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah, that's fine. We can set that up.
Okay, I think
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Listen, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. As I said, email addresses at the bottom there, info@ultimo.com. Please reach out to us if you want more information or if you want the details for the trend report. Thank you, Thijs, for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you for hosting, Will.
Yeah, no, you're more than welcome. And yeah, thank you for everyone for joining. Please keep an eye out for more content on our LinkedIn, like and share, and follow us on LinkedIn to see more content from Ultimo. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a great day.
Cheers.